And then after that, there's contact with PJ Harvey.
Oh yeah, those days. It was. I had done this. We did some touring for Teenager of the Year. We weren't really ready yet, but the Ramones, of all people, Joey Ramone loved Charles's music, and he got in touch with them and said, come out and open for the Ramones. And it's not like a combination that you would think would make a lot of sense. And anyway, Charles was at a point where he didn't really need to open for anybody, but the Ramones offered a lot of money, much more than an opening act normally gets. So Charles said, well, let's go out and do it and we'll get a good paid rehearsal. So we were really pretty loose, for playing it live, but we just went out and stumbled our way through. And I found it really another one of those unexpected but interesting periods in my life, because I was never Ramones-centric at all. I kind of liked them, but in a, oh yeah, that's pretty good. It's way over here. It's over on the side. And so now here I was hanging out in the Ability, and I'm, pretty shy, and actually so was he seeming, but I got to sit around and talk to Joey Ramone and learn the madness and genius of Joey Ramone, and that was pretty great. We played a bunch of shows, and then we went to, I'm trying to remember what, I guess we went to Europe and toured Teenager of the Year. I can really barely remember. But somehow we ended up in Japan and Australia, and which led me to meet an Australian band, that I ended up producing a couple of records for. And I kind of liked Australia, and for a while I was thinking, maybe I should move to Australia because it's so clean, and it seems like if a bomb's going to go off somewhere, it's not going to be there. Nobody cares about Australia, But every time I worked with this band, they came over to the United States, so I never really got to hang in Australia for a long time with them, and that was sort of too. But anyway, but I digress. Yeah, after finishing this tour in Australia, I guess Charles's manager for a while, went back and laid down the law and said something about, listen, this solo career isn't quite going the way that, you're not making as much money as you used to do, and there have to be some changes made, So at some point I was just kind of informed, which was really shocking to me at the time, that, I was sort of like let go. All the band that had played with him then was fired, and he was going to put together a new band that was much less expensive. It's the first time that had ever happened to me, because I was always, successful, but felt like I was on a career that was going like this a little bit. And I was like, wow. And I kind of talked to Charles, because I said, what gives? I can work for less, and I can do this. I really love to play with you. And he goes, yeah. I understand, but I got to do this. I got to try something new. And so I was back in San Francisco, and I ran into some people, and they said, how's it going? And I said, at this point, great. My personal relationship had just broken up, and the band that I played in just broke up. And one of these guys was a writer for a music magazine. And he goes, oh, I know your name was coming up. I did an interview with PJ Harvey and her kind of right-hand man, John Parrish. Somehow this guy knew me, and he mentioned my name, and they were like, oh, really? What's he all about? And I really knew nothing about her, other than I'd seen one of her records, and it was a kind of not a bad record, but it was called 4-Track Demos. It was kind of a reaction to her previous studio record. It was like she didn't like the studio record that much. She wanted to do it her way. And I heard that and thought it was kind of interesting. And I did hear on some of that music a certain Captain Beefheart influence. This guy, had told me that. I said, well, tell them, me and my shyness, tell them that I'd be happy to meet them and, check out if we should play together. And of course, I called this guy in a week and a half and said, did you ever get in touch? And he said, no, I haven't really had a reason to do that and all this. So I realized I had to put my big boy pants on and do something for myself. So I wrote a letter. To them and sent it off. And, within a few days I got a response saying, and I was in San Francisco living then, and they said, can you fly to London in about 5 days and audition? So I said, yeah, I can do that. I wasn't sure what I was going to, but they sent me then really quickly, special express in the mail so I could get it fast. Some of the songs they were working on I just finished a record called To Bring You My Love, and just sort of said, can you learn this, and this for this audition? And, I learned about 5 songs, and, they weren't really that difficult for me. And I went there and was in a rehearsal room and played a couple of songs. And it was weird because they'd asked me to learn about 5, and after a couple, it was kind of like they just said, okay, that's great, thanks. Which kind of made me think, I guess I fucked it up. Mm-hmm. And I said, okay, and I went back to this hotel room and, was kind of sitting there figuring, well, I guess I'm going home in a day, which I was already planning to do. Anyway, there was a note stuck under my door in a while because they had also had a couple of other people they had asked for this part. Oh, and after we had auditioned, Polly and I went and had a cup of tea together and just sort of talked, and it seemed all very pleasant. Oh, and she had, that was it. That's what happened. She said, would you want to meet me for a cup of tea? And I said, okay. And we sat and talked around a little bit, and from her point at that time, she says, well, I don't really know why you'd want to do this, but if you want to do it, I'd be honored to have you play. So I said, thank you. I said, I really am learning to really appreciate what you do. And, it's partly getting used to a whole new group of people that are going to become, one of the things about joining this band, and this band is you have to be somebody that doesn't get under people's nerves on the bus and et cetera. You have to. And I've always kind of I know that intuitively, so I just, can't we all get along? But we really did, and there was a connection. And she said, yes, please, let's go do this. So we started doing it, and we really became good buddies. I'm kind of, she's trying really different things now, and I think they're really good, but I miss some of the stuff that we used to do, and I kind of wish, and I hope I play with her again sometimes, because she's really full of energy. Of course, I talked to her about a month ago, and she was saying, because she says this all the time, like, I think I'm finished with music. I don't have any desire to pick up an instrument, or, I said, well, that's because you've been touring for a couple of years. But she really loves, writing poetry now and other things. So let her do what she, is going to do. I think she's a pretty great artist.